against the double support, it's a map that is going to thrive. But now, at this point, it's just Soul Tortures has got to be the one who plays the hand. They've got to show something here if they want to stand a chance.
It really fits into what MVP Black likes to go with Sky Temple. They can either try and play the global game with that Illidan, they can flex over into the potential Tracer. You know, it's up to Soul Tortures to try and control the draft, as they're going to first ban the Ariel, which means that they're not going with it. So, Gilly, to me, right now, it seems like Soul Tortures, after their Dahaka play, has been a little bit rough around the edges between Infernal, between that of Tomb of the Spider Queen. It seems like they're probably not going to go into that game. I wouldn't be surprised if we might see an Abathur or an early Illidan pick for themselves. Or there's no Illidan available.
Unfortunately for that, it does mean that Genji is still up if this is...
I want them to take it. I think it's very important for Soul Tortures to take the Genji. It's a map that it complements. I always focus on the skirmishing and the dependency of being able to get team fights on a map like Sky Temple. They move into the Stitches, though, which has been a very highly contested hero throughout the tournament. So it's no surprise to see them get it. But again, is it worth the trade-off versus the Genji?
Obviously, Tassadar is a highly contested hero, but so is Genji and so is Uther. I wonder if they're willing to commit that hard. And with KeoJae being a little bit newer on the role, I wasn't sure if they would commit to that. But MVP Black, again, showing their evolution here, going into a Dahaka pick. That is not something that we've seen them do early, if hardly at all.
No, I don't think there was any Dahaka in all of Phase 2, because I go back to the point, they did not play Double Warrior.
Because Rich says, I don't want to play Warrior. I want to play everything else that kills people.
What do you think about that, Dread?
I think it's one of the best things they can do, not only for this tournament, but maybe for their team moving forward. If I've talked about the Korean teams in cross compared to the North American scene, I would argue if you look at, for instance, Glorong as a player in his early career, how long it kind of took him to finally get into a position to where it no longer is the, I'm going to run the heroes that are always going to kill the things, team get on my backpack, we're ready to go. It seems like Rich maybe right now is kind of accepting that that isn't always the meta, and when it's not, you can't force a meta. It's meta for a reason. It is the most forgiving approach. And right now, they need it without being that much better in execution than their opponent with these high-risk comps they had before.
Yeah, mindset-wise for them, we saw them come into their interview, and already Rich was dictating a lot of the drafting. He was dictating a lot of the shot calling, too, along with Reset. And it was surprising to see, given the fact that we had both Sake and KeoJae, who had been in the evolution of MVP Black since the very beginning. So this may be a bit of a change up in that, and still seeing a little bit into the evolution of MVP Black as a team as they go through some of the hardships that they've had to face in this tournament.
I would love to see a Rhaegar ban here. Just force KeoJae onto the Malfurion, somebody that doesn't have that burst healing, something that can complement you well. They go into the Abathur. I feel that we're going to see a Rhaegar locked in here. Potentially that Warrior. With Dahaka there, it seems like Rich would play that hero, but we know the flexibility of Sake. I wonder if we might see a surprise towards the end of this. And also, Tassadar has not been picked up here.
Sake has been always a very phenomenal player, and you were talking about when he gets on those high impacts like the Gul'dan that he can clutch it out, because if we think about when they were their dominant form, Sake was on those high impact heroes constantly. And so I kind of do like the idea of what if we did see Rich move a bit more to that backliner, maybe into the range, still high impact that accents his place out, and then suddenly Sake moves himself into the, if it's a side soaker, maybe I am that Dahaka. I will say that I think it's unlikely, but I wouldn't necessarily mind that adjustment from them. Either way, I am curious to see who is going to be the Dahaka, you know, how is it going to play out, and if it looks as scary as when we saw Rich now flex over to things like the Arthas. There's that Rhaegar you were talking about.
It's what they do. They pick the Rhaegar in this slot with this composition all the time, and that's why I would say force him onto something that doesn't function as well, and forces him onto a hero that he's played Malfurion more than any other support this season.
Correct.
But I feel that he will always fall back to Rhaegar on this battleground with the Genji, this type of heavy frontline dive potential composition.
Yeah, MVP Black were the ones that really started to pioneer having Rhaegar with Genji, because, you know, Deflect can't overlap with something like a Palm or a Divine Shield. But let's talk about Soul Torturers now in their composition. They have their Greymane once again for a lot of damage, and they have Uther follow-up for Stitches. So what would you like to see in these last two picks, guys?
I feel like Falstad would be a good pickup here. It gives them that global to match what else? Obviously, Genji is going to be there, but you have that protection of the Uther, of the Stitches. So it allows you to keep some type of global control, but it also gives you that boss contention as well. And it also potentially takes that away from MVP Black, because if Tahaka
really
is rich, Sake is all over some Falstad this game.
If that's not a Falstad, all right, then I expect MVP Black to pick up the Falstad, because even if you go Inevitable End, right? I believe at 13 is the name of the talent for the self-cleanse and make sure that you can't be a touch. Even though Malthael is really high impact with his Tormented Souls, you just gust. Suddenly it's like the Ice Block argument, the Aegis argument. You just get gusted away. You're completely isolated. And it is a very easy counterplay to such a hero that is so dependent on his heroic. If you can waste that one initiation, suddenly Malthael is like who? You know, you're just kind of beginning to go like, I don't really care about this hero nearly as much until maybe 20 hits, and we see the the throwing shade build and the heavy focus onto his E. I do like the double global play and going with the Falstad. I think it's the safest route that we could see out of them, but maybe they're questioning into the double support if that's going to be enough to deal with what we see on the side of Soul Tortures.
I mean, that might be the thing. I mean, obviously you need some damage here. Relying on a Soul Genji is never going to be the case, so you need some damage. I don't know if Falstad brings enough damage. They might be looking at a more high-impact hero in terms of damage more instead of global control, and I think that Li Ming supplements that. They get the double reset, but against an Uther that has the armor, Brightwing that has the spell armor off of her Pixie Dust now, it's a little bit surprising to me, but in the same context, it's not surprising to me that they went with a high-impact, high-damage hero to supplement the Genji, who's going to be more flanking.
But another circumstance where we see a double reset picked into a double support, which their whole goal is to stop that momentum into a team fight. And so as long as I feel like Brightwing is going to be the most vulnerable, just doesn't go out of her way to necessarily get out of position and get one shot, it's reasonable for them to stop it. At the same time, I think Genji is going to be a huge problem. The level of Korean Genji has been outstanding, I think, across all of HGC Korea. And so I'm suddenly... If you remove the names, I like Soul Tortures, but I'm scared here for them after letting those picks through.
Speaking of double reset, I bet MVP Black is wishing that they had one of their own, because they have Li Ming and Genji, who are both reset heroes, which means they'll be putting Sake on the Li Ming. The rest of MVP Black, KeoJae, Tist, Reset, and Rich.
Fighting for their tournament lives in red is going to be that of Soul Torture. We're going to see what Bowie can do this game around, as he'll be that Malthael player. Haven't seen the best results thus far, but rounding out the rest of the team will be Cucumber, Zola, Scroll, and God Dog, who once again is going to be on the Gray Main.
Tournament lives are now on the line for the Taiwanese team of Soul Torturers. They definitely do not want to get eliminated on home turf, but they are facing a terrifying opponent in MVP Black.
The Brightwing build always, it makes you think, right? Of, do you want to use that as kind of that split soak hero, but what do you pick at level 1? I mean, where are you getting that true value? Do you keep Brightwing kind of with the group to deal with some potentially the spell armor there, but Brightwing is going to be moving down to the bottom because the first 2 temples will be at the top, so we'll see how much value you get out of that level 1 talent later.
Yeah, you want to be healing your ally heroes to make sure that you can reduce the cooldown of your phase shift with that hyper shift. But we'll see, again, where they go further with the Brightwing build. It makes me think maybe we're going to see her move into maybe even the phase shield at 7. But then again, what do we look at the other side? Because that would be highlighting that maybe Uther would like to go into Guardian of Ancient Kings. There are quite a few stuns. You've got Muradin on the other side, Tahaka there too. So we'll have to see how our supports try to flex out that cleanse.
I'd really like to see, go more into maybe the polymorph, get that control, get the poly, get the stun, get the potential hook, try and get that kill, that blow-up potential with the Greymane. We'll see as this game unfolds, but we do have our temples, Gilly, activating here in just a few seconds as our globals sit on the bottom lane. Who's going to be the first to flinch here is my question.
Well, the nice thing is this is a Brightwing, and they already had the double support, but Zola feels like he needed to come in for the fight, so MVP Black has been able to force that out. Tahaka also comes in. Uther is down, but a lot of the members of MVP Black are low in health.
They're very low, and Uther healing up the support of Zola and Brightwing. Both of your supports are down. One dead healer trying to support a live healer. Made that a very tough, but we saw who flinched first. The Brightwing was forced to come up, but Rich is like, hey, I got a global too. Came in that backside, helped confirm that kill.
It's a party. I want to join. Rich came up. They got the double kill.
Ooh,
And they're
sneaky.
Yeah, they're continuing to throw a lot of damage into this mid lane, along with holding on to the temple there. The extra damage they can do means that the shots get onto the more important structure of the fort.
Think they're going to throw some shade?
I don't know. There have been so many different Malthael builds, honestly. Even Jungha has run full Wraith Strike build with Mortality and Massacre, which is the area of effect at 16. So I'd be really excited to see some sort of change up, but so far it has been more of the Black Harvest, and we'll continue with that.
He had nowhere else to go, and it's like, please don't hit me. Oh, just dodging death there, but Gilly, we got ourselves almost a full level lead for MVP Black.
Yeah, it seems like more of the same of what's been happening in the final 3 games of the series as 005 goes down with KeoJae and Reset there. Rich will even come in, finds a stray Zola, and no Blink Q yet to be able to get her out of that, so she will be the next death, 4 kills to 0.
You know, the game is early, but that's one of the main reasons why I think banning out a Rhaegar versus, say, allowing them to take the Malfurion. Otherwise, yes, you get a little bit more crowd control to deal with, but you've got Uther that says, please CC somebody so I can proc this level 7. But Rhaegar obviously helping to confirm the kill there. It just plays right into what MVP Black likes to do, and as KeoJae definitely helped picking up another kill there as we got 4 kills to 0.
MVP Black are using that Rhaegar as well as the Genji to get the Bruisers, making sure that Dahaka can continue to push out that wave. And once the Bruisers are captured, they'll push right along with him, trying to do their best they can to at least delay the death of that top fort, which is where ST were able to get a lot of damage done by holding on to that top temple.
This is just a very tough spot for Soul Torturers to be in. Obviously, the next temple phase is going to be very telling in how this game will unfold. We've still got almost a full level lead being sustained here by MVP Black. Camps are being picked up, but the second temple phase is going to be at the bottom. Again, it's going to be a matter of who's going to flinch first. Is the Brightwing going to need to shift? Is the Dahaka going to need to come down? We're going to find out here very soon, as right now, top lane being defended here by Soul Torturers.
Yeah, MVP Black did force this double response up toward the top, and in moving out of that bottom lane, ST they weren't able to get much of anything done with their Giants there. And now MVP Black, getting their Giants just now, has positioned themselves on this side of the battleground so that they can potentially push right along with those Giants, along with that level lead too. Tisk spots rotation with a Piercing Bolt will catch them both.
Piercing Bolt, I love the pickup there. You've got this potential dive heavy, maybe Uther's going to be up there, maybe you'll have that Malthael Greymane up there. Try and get as much CC as you can and put the pressure on, allow Li Ming to take advantage of that level 7 Calamity talent that we see picked up is quite often. Try and get that big damage off of that blink in.
All right, well, here we go. The second temple phase, and Soul Torturer still faces a level deficit to MVP Black, but it's not at 10 yet. And this is a good opportunity for ST to try to equalize out this game. So they're going to step onto the point. They haven't had Brightwing shift down yet. The opportunity hasn't arisen. Neither team has seen where they want to bring that global in.
Brightwing was running for her lives. You could see off the health bar there and how quick she was moving across that. But I tell you what, Gilly, if Soul Torturers loses a fight here, and then we see Black get 10, they could make a boss play, they could finish off the temple, things like that. Maybe Black plays it a little bit safer. But if Soul Torturers loses a fight here, this could get ugly real quick.
Dahaka is stalked in, separating out the team. The Polymorph will make sure the Scroll can get back. The follow-up cleanse from Brightwing there. Soul Torturer stays A-okay, but MVP Black is inching closer and closer toward their heroic abilities. This is the time. Bui uses Wraith Strike to jump in. The drag has been hacked.
They did get the drag on. They got the poly there onto Reset, who's trying to use his cyber agility to get away. God Dog looking for any kill he can as the cocktail splashes over. But I think right now, Gilly, Soul Torturer's got to get out of here.
Yeah, MVP Black did a perfect amount of baiting the fight, but not giving them the full fight because they knew that ST were hoping upon hoping that they could get the kills with the Stitches, with the Malthael, something in the right way. Their stun lock even to take someone out and help them catch back up. But pulling down all of the members of ST and then not giving them any kills means that MVP Black get to clear out the rest of the temple. They have heroic abilities now, so they'll move on for a quick boss.
This is kind of where things, if they had gotten the fight and the boss, things look bad. But if Soul Torturers, obviously, they wanted to try and get a pick there. They wanted to try and get a kill. If they do, they kind of cover the ground. But if not, you're nowhere near in any other lanes. You're losing that valuable experience. You're going to find yourself further down. So they tried. They risked it there. It's still early. This boss only 6 minutes. Not the most impactful, but it does give you that battleground control.
Reset using the Dragon Blade. 005's in trouble, and only Zola here trying to make sure, or trying to help him out of that situation. But all for naught. 005
for
goes
not.
down, and Genji does so too.
Oh, they're going to turn this fight. God Dog's going to get directly onto Rich, who's going to go ahead and hop underground. God Dog's like, wait a minute, I got to find this guy. Come here. Get over here. Oh, no way.
Oh.
He's committed. Oh my. Put down the spray.
Rich knew. Well, I just love seeing that rotation, knowing where God Dog was most likely to try to get the explosion damage off the cocktail. So making sure that he didn't give him that opportunity. And alas, they weren't able to take out Tahaka, but Soul Torturers at least did get the 1 kill on Genji. They saved their keep. They're down once again in the game, but they have heroic abilities and opportunities to try to come back.
Let's talk about some of these heroics picked up by Soul Torturers. They go into the Gorge, and a lot of times you'll see that used potentially against, say, the Dragon Blade Genji. He comes in, you gorge him, you negate all of that damage that could potentially be coming out. So we'll see exactly how that goes. We do go into the Divine Shield, and also maybe the separation that we're going to see from Emerald Wind to get that gorge, that separation, and then the blow up, because Cursed Bullet's also been picked up.
Yeah, and Emerald Wind will also be very nice if there comes a big 5v5 brawl over the boss point too. On the other side though, MVP Black, we've seen a lot more isolation. In fact, it's been sort of standardized as the norm, and it does feel like a lot of that comes in with the addition of Malthael to the hero roster. With Touch of Death, which Malthael did get, you can really chunk out that adaptation healing from that. And so the isolation now also can make sure that if Malthael wants to go in too far with the Tormented Souls, he's punished just like this poor Brightwing.
Oh, you're trying to get the Emerald Wind into the teleport out of there. That's never going to be a case. You saw the discipline there. Test holding on to his stun, no threat whatsoever, but Reset taking a big chunk of damage there from the Cursed Bullet.
He's looking like he wants to go into Dragon Blade. He does. He drops it and drops down Stitches as well. So striking in. Hammer of Justice, hoping that Cucumber can save his Greymane.
Bowie going into Tormented Souls. Divine Shield already out. They now find themselves in a tough spot, but Brightwing is back in as well. There's the Piercing Bolt landing on it too. The cleanse on the God Dog going to keep him alive for the moment. As you can see, the members of MVP Black are very low right now, and Bowie trying to do whatever he can to stay on top of them. Sake and Rich, though, Gilly, had to back out quick.
Man, I do not know how Soul Torturers just did that in the fight. They lose their Stitches, but they had the double support to keep them healthy. The Tormented Souls hit a lot of members, which did do damage, and then the cycling back and forth, sort of baiting between the two damage dealers of Greymane and Malthael. Soul Torturers didn't get a kill, but they were able to keep themselves alive.
Okay, Malthael instantly went to the top, but Gilly, there were Siege Giants that are still alive. You can see on the minimap, that keep has now fallen to about half health. It's a little bit surprising that hasn't been responded to yet, as this is the one battleground where your structures are essentially your lifeline. Speaking of lifeline, Reset's trying to test his own as he's diving in the back on a Malthael.
Yeah, now Uther's the one who wants to deal with those Siege Giants, which means it's not the global, it's not ideal, and it's also somebody who never wants to be split soaking or dealing with a cleanup like that. There's the Emerald Wind, along with the Gorge. Polymorph follows up. Tist is living!
Tist is living. I tell you who's not living. That's going to be Scroll. And all the members of Soul Torturers are going down as the spray goes down. But Cucumber and team, that is a 5-man team wipe. Gilly, we could be looking at some type of dive here. That bottom keep is very, very low. This might be a double keep play here for MVP Black.
Man, that is the beauty of having a Li Ming in your composition if you're able to secure the resets like Sake just did. Rich is going to hold on to the temple, get the last few shots from there. Bot Keep was taken out, and the rest of MVP Black with their 4-level lead over Soul Torturers will take out the next.
Gilly, it's a 4-level lead. You're down 2 keeps. You haven't even taken a fort yet. Reset on that backside, getting all the heals in the world. Scroll's going to have to try and put some pressure on Bowie as well. Dragon Blade for the added mobility is going to help him get out alive. Scroll, he's got to look for the hook here, and he's going to miss.
Even though 005 does have Death's Reach for the increased range on his Wraith Strike, still the Swift Strike got Reset back into a position where he could receive the Ancestral Healing from KeoJae to keep him alive. And Soul Torturers, they are now in the position that we saw them in before, where there are no ideal fights at this point. They are going to have to make some risky decisions and hope that they can find the correct risks to take to put them back in a spot where they're in this game, because being down 2 keeps while you haven't taken out a fort is rough.
It's rough indeed. The hook's going to miss again as Siege Giants have been picked up. You know, Dread talked about this earlier. It's about, you can force the boss action, but MVP Black is like, just go ahead and take it. There's no way in the world that you have to risk anything. You have all forts standing, even if you drop a fort and don't even defend the boss till it gets to your keep. There's no reason. We see some teams maybe overcommit. They risk it. They might even try and take it themselves, but just ignore it on the battleground altogether, play it safe, wait for the temples, and you can just choke your opponent out at this point if you're MVP Black.
Yeah, especially if you have a double siege camp, which are going to push that bottom lane. They can hang out and watch for any sort of rotation to come in from the mid and the bottom, hoping to catch somebody there. Not finding it though, there's always a temple to, as well as a boss to fall back on if there's no opportunity to immediately win the game for Black.
Well, one thing Double Siege Camps does is it pushes that lane out so far, so do the catapult, so you have vision so far up the lanes that you fall back and you get a free boss. You talk about not risking it, but when you have vision on all members on the enemy team, plus you're going in as Tist being aggressive killing, they're trying to end with this boss here.
Yeah, they want to end this game, this flip, in an otherwise good tournament, putting them down in the lower bracket. Hook connects. Tist immediately follows up to slow down Scroll from running away. Brightwing is grabbed right out of Emerald Wind, taking her down.
KeoJae somehow staying alive. They're going to continue to put the pressure on as the boss is making its way to the core, but Tist is going in, and down goes Stitches, down goes Malthael. That is 1, 2, 3, 4, and boom! That is 5 members down as MVP Black seals the deal to move on in the lower bracket.
MVP Black is frustrated. They lost to Tempest in a super close series earlier on today. They lost game 1 to Soul Torturers. This is not at all how they had planned the Eastern Clash to go, and now they have a long run to get revenge, to make it back up, because if they want to be in the grand finals, if they want to win this event, they have to do it the hard way.
That was an absolutely ridiculous performance after the first game from MVP Black. With the fluctuation that we saw through the draft, I didn't think that all the games would be that dominant out from them. And suddenly, I'm a lot more optimistic towards their opportunity into the rest of this tournament. I do think that obviously Tempest is a huge challenge, but L5 is one that if we see MVP Black facing up against, that I feel like really is going to challenge them and making them second guess, because a lot of those picks and adjustments we see, L5 is one of the few teams comfortable taking it, and more importantly, I think they just do it better, because that has been their playstyle for so very long. For instance, the Dahaka, right? If Rich is going to go in that direction, it's suddenly going to be a big task there for that matchup. So I'm really excited to see, you know, MVP Black versus the rest of Korea now.
Gilly, 2 games of Arthas, 1 game of Dahaka to wrap up the rest of that series for Rich to further expand on Dread's point. I was behind stage. I'm hypercritical of some of the drafting that we've seen and the heroes that he's been on, but I absolutely love the fact that they're willing to adapt to heroes that admittedly probably are more optimal for your team and against the opponent, and it seems to be paying off.
It has paid off for them, and to counterpoint what Dread was saying, as maybe if L5 is sticking to what they do, then MVP Black at least will be more comfortable, because they have already been able to beat that before.
Yeah.
Like if Jungha plays Dahaka, for instance, right? Rich knows how to beat that.
And it also hits a weird situation to where that was Korea taking a non-Korean team, and things kind of go out the window a little bit whenever they play against one another. Whether that be because an emotional thing, or that's purely because they play against one another so much that they feel like they have to get that wild and that radical. I do agree, the comfort probably is something that MVP can rely on, but once you lost to Tempest, the 3rd seed, your confidence against Korea, I feel like, has to be shooken. I feel like nobody knows for sure except MVP Black, but I feel, from my view, it's going to hurt them more than help.
True, that makes a lot of sense. We'll get to see it at some point, but now let's head over to the stage with Trixler and MVP Black.
And I'm here with KeoJae from MVP Black, and let's go ahead and talk about your drafts. They seem to have altered, especially from the set against Tempest to now the one against Soul Torturers. Now we're seeing Gul'dan and Dahaka. So what exactly changed for the team?
템페스트랑 경기할 때 조합이 많이 달라졌어요. 왜 달라졌어요?
져서요.
He's saying just because we lost, that's why we changed up the draft.
That's a good strategy right there. Well, speaking of losses, we've been seeing a lot of different teams over the last couple of days. Is there any team that's really standing out to you guys to surprise everyone in this tournament?
이스턴 클래시에서 이틀 지나갔잖아요. 이제 누가 제일 잘하는 것 같아요?
저희가 여기 와서 연습 경기를 좀 많이 안 해가지고 저희가 너무 자만의 해에 있지 않았나 싶고요. 다시 원래대로 폼 올리면은 다시 잘할 수 있을 것 같아요.
Okay, so he said when we came to the Eastern Clash, we didn't practice as much as we hoped to, But once we start to get into that rhythm again, we want to be that team that is the best.
Well, we look forward to that. Obviously, you'll be facing off the winner of the next match, CE and TFC. Who do you hope will win so you guys can take them on?
다음 경기 CE하고 TFC 경기하잖아요. 누가 이길 것 같아요?
누가 이기든 상관없어요.
He doesn't care who wins.
Okay, well, KeoJae being very, very impressed and excited for the next match, and we can't wait for it as well. CE and TFC facing off after this commercial break.
Introducing HGC Cheer. To bring more hype